I want to start off this video by giving a trigger warning to anyone that could be bothered or affected by the conversation of sexual harassment. If you're watching this and the topic of sexual harassment may trigger you or upset you in a way that could harm your mental health or just your well-being all around, and you don't feel comfortable listening to what I have to say, please click off now. This entire video will be my story with sexual harassment and just an open conversation about it. So if sexual harassment is something that you're not comfortable with or interested in talking about, go ahead and click off this video now. So I'm really uncomfortable right now, just because my channel is not usually a place where I talk about serious topics. Actually, I don't ever talk about serious topics. Also, one quick thing I wanted to run by you is that when I am uncomfortable or when I am going through something, I use humor to get through it, and I will chuckle or laugh. Sexual harassment is nothing to laugh about and is not a laughing matter, and it's something that needs to be taken very seriously. But as I'm telling my story and what I've been through personally, you might see me chuckle or kind of joke through telling my story, because that's how I can get through it. So I just want to put that out there. Please don't take it the wrong way if I laugh or chuckle. It's just because I'm uncomfortable. Okay, the purpose of my videos is to make people laugh and to make people smile and to entertain, but the purpose of this video is to educate, spread awareness, and tell my story. I just want to make it really clear what my purpose is in making this video and uploading it to my channel of 100,000 plus people. I have this platform, and although I use it weekly to make people laugh and smile, if I can use my platform to help someone who may be in a similar situation than I was in, I want to use it. I also want to make it very clear that there is a difference between sexual harassment and sexual assault. Sexual assault is an act, it's being touched, it's being forced into something you don't want to do. Sexual harassment is typically through social media, just talking. No action is being done. Don't quote me on that because I'm not an expert on this. I just want to go ahead and put that out there that I was not sexually assaulted in this story that I'm about to tell, and that is a completely different ballpark that I am not talking about in this video. Okay, so now on to my story. It starts back in 2014 when I started working at a retail store. It was my first job. I was 15 years old. I got the job, and my first day, I met a coworker. We're gonna call him Ryan for confidential purposes. I don't know. I'm just not gonna use his real name. And I met Ryan on my first day working. Super nervous, and he was really cool. He was really nice, and we were both just retail cashier floor workers, and I became comfortable with him. I saw him almost every day, 5 days out of the 7-day week. I saw him. Ryan was older than me. Ryan was, if I have my math correct, I believe Ryan is about 7 or 8 years older than me. I can't tell you exactly because I don't know. I do know that I was a sophomore in high school and he had graduated high school already. Graduated high school and graduated college, I think. So basically what I'm trying to get across is that he's significantly older than me, but also not an old man, you know? I'm not gonna ramble too much about this, but throughout working at this store, I worked there for 3.5 years, and maybe a year into working there, Ryan became my supervisor. He got a promotion. We were all super excited. He became the night shift supervisor. So it was him in charge of me and all the other cashiers and stuff. And we all got along really nicely. None of my coworkers that I know of ever came up to me or anyone else and said hey, I'm getting weird vibes from Ryan. Ryan said this, it was kind of creepy. None of us got creepy vibes. None of us felt threatened by him. We were all very comfortable with each other. It was a close-knit work environment. Everything was fine. I can remember times where there would be like a creepy customer that just rubbed me the wrong way, and I would tell Ryan like, hey, watch out for this guy, he's making me feel weird. And he would look out for me, kind of like a big brother type thing. Within my 3 years of working with Ryan, 3.5 years of working with Ryan, nothing happened to make me feel threatened by him. And as far as I know, nothing happened with my coworkers either while he was working at this store. Eventually, Ryan ended up finding a better paying job, a job that used his college degree. I think he had a baby on the way. He was engaged. Yeah, he was engaged. So he was just moving on to bigger and better things besides a retail store. We were all super sad. We had like a going away party for him with like cake and like, we'll miss you, Ryan. And it was like it was sad. Like, people were crying because he had been there for, I think he had been working there for like 4 years, but I'd known him for 3 years, and he was leaving, and it was really sad. So we all said goodbye, and he left the store that I worked at. After he left the store, I was no longer really in contact with him besides Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. I would see his stories, and I guess he would see mine. And a little bit after his wedding, I heard about his first victim, and it was one of my coworkers. I can't talk about her personal story because that's her story to tell, and although I've talked to her, she's not comfortable with her story being out on the internet, and I respect that. But this was his first sexual harassment victim from the store that I worked at that I know of. There's no level of like grossness of sexual harassment. Like, sexual harassment is sexual harassment, but the things that he said to her were just degrading, gross. Like, had he said those things to me, I would have questioned and second-guessed everything in regards to working with him, because I would think, well, was he looking at me while we were... Anyways. But that's the first sexual harassment victim that I heard about in regards to Ryan and the store. So not long after I found out about this first girl, I had a friend come to me, and I met this friend through the store. We were coworkers, and we quickly became like best friends. And I love her to death. But she came to me and she was like, you're not gonna believe what just happened. I mean, she was in tears. She couldn't look me in the eye because it's humiliating. She came to me and was like, Ryan just said this to me. And when she told me about the things that he had said to her, again, through social media, I don't know if I mentioned that, but the first girl, it was all through social media as well. When she told me the things he had said to her, I was like horrified, and I genuinely couldn't wrap my head around the fact that our supervisor, Ryan, was saying these things to her. Because none of us got that feeling from him. None of us ever felt threatened or intimidated by him, ever. So to hear that he's doing this to not just one girl that I used to work with, but another girl that I used to work with is terrifying to me. Terrifying. I remember her feeling somewhat guilty at the fact that these things are being said to her, even though it was not her fault. And I remember telling her and reassuring her that it was not her fault, and she couldn't have done anything differently for him to have not sexually harassed her, because sexual harassment is only the predator's fault. And I had to reassure her of that. So once she told me, because I was closer to her than the first girl. I mean, I was friends with the first girl, but I was like best friends with this girl at the time. When she told me about this, I was like, well, you need to tell his wife. And she was like, no, I'm not going to tell his wife, because she's put in a position where he's got a wife, and at this point he has his daughter who was born. And she's like, I don't want to ruin a family. When in reality, he is the one who is potentially ruining his family. It is not her fault at all. And I have assured her of that. But I respected her decision in not telling the wife. And it wasn't my story to tell. So I let her tell her story. I listened. I reassured her that it wasn't her fault, she did nothing wrong, and that was that. I told my friend that I was making this video, and I gave her the opportunity to tell her story if she wanted to, and she agreed. She wants her story to be told. She doesn't want her name shared, and she wants her voice altered, which I completely understand. So I'm gonna insert some audio of her telling her story.
So really it all started, I slid up on, we weren't even in contact, and I slid up on a story of his adorable daughter when she first came out. It was like she was a baby. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet her. I'm so sad I didn't get to see her before I left for school or something like that. And then a couple of days later, slides up on my story, says something to make me have to respond. Me responding, that conversation turned into, I've always wanted to fight you at work. It's like, I want to fight you. And, you know, I'm just thinking that he's being weird. Everybody knew that was a little weird, like weird, nerdy weird, not like creepy weird. So I was just like bantering back and was like, oh, I'm sure you don't want to fight me because I will beat your ass. And then he was like, you wouldn't beat me. I was like, I really would, you know. And then he was like, well, if you beat me, something white might come out. And I'm just like, at that point, I was dating, and I was like, just said something to me, like, he's being weird. Like, should I be thinking that he's trying, like, coming at me some kind of way? And their response is like, no, because that's. And in the back of my head, I was like, well, now that's validation because I'm thinking this is too. So maybe he's not meaning what I mean. So I respond to him and be like, oh, breast milk, ha ha ha, because he just had a child. And then after that, that's when it crossed the line when he was just like, no, something else. And that's when I started responding for the first time because that was just like, dude, like I just went to your wedding. I just commented on your baby, and 2 days later you're trying to flirt with me and saying, like, implying that if I jack you off you'll come. Like, what? Like, I didn't want to believe it so bad because it was somebody that I actually like and thought was a good dude. Like, I'm thinking that, okay, his account must have gotten hacked or somebody must be texting me through his account. Like, I'm thinking to myself, this cannot be. That's how much disbelief I was in. Because if he's been a creep all this time, he's hit it very well for me. That was the most vulgar to me. Ever since then, like, he's tried to Snapchat me. And I just shut it down every time. It's just like really random and sporadic and weird. Like, now it's just like he'll put emojis, like eye emojis. Like, I posted this picture, I had a V-neck shirt on. Obviously I have boobs, and he's just like puts the eye emojis and like the heart eye emojis. And I'm just like every time I'm like, you have a wife and you have a child. That's like the only thing I say to him. This is the last conversation we had. He goes, well, I like the picture. I can't like a picture. I was like, no, you can't. And that was it. He said okay, and that was it. That's the last time I spoke to him.
Thank you to You Know Who You Are for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And now we're going to move on to, as far as I know, his third victim of sexual harassment, which is me. Keep in mind, I already have knowledge of 2 girls being sexually harassed by Ryan. Lo and behold, it happens to me. So this is my story. So last week, I tried to get a tan because I'm very pale. I posted a Snapchat story. I'll put it up right here. You know, picture of my legs at the pool, tanning. And I had a Snapchat from Ryan. Also, mind you, I hadn't talked to Ryan since like his daughter was born, telling him that his daughter was precious or whatever. So it wasn't like we talked every day. Not that that would make a difference, but we didn't talk. So seeing this like little blue Snapchat message, I kind of was preparing myself for what I knew was already gonna happen because I knew about my other coworkers. So I click on the Snapchat. Oh my gosh, the thunder effect. That wasn't a sound effect, y'all, it's thundering. So I open up the Snapchat and I didn't save these first two messages, so I'm gonna tell you from memory what they said. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I opened up the Snapchat and it said, ew. And I was like, huh? I said, what? He said, naked, yuck. And I said, I'm wearing a swimsuit. And then this is when I started saving the messages, and I'm gonna put the messages up here and then I'll try to read them to you. They're like really like weird and gross, but I'm gonna read them anyways. So after telling him I had a swimsuit on, he said, LOL, we didn't see none of that. Nasty, naughty young people skinny dipping and showing us. Making little boys wee-wees hard. Ew. So I responded, I said, I was at a pool in a swimsuit. And he says, LOL lady, why we only see legs then? I stated a very obvious fact. I said, because I took the picture from my thighs down. He then sends an emoji. I didn't say anything. I left it on open. And then later, like maybe 2 minutes later, he says, giving off the naked effect. I'm grossed out at this point. I open that and I don't respond to that Snapchat either. And then he Snapchats me again. And he says, JK, calm down. Calm down. Mind you, I wasn't messaging him back. I don't really understand where he was coming from by telling me to calm down. I felt quite disrespected already. But then for him to tell me to calm down, even though I just wasn't messaging him back, seems kind of not cool. So I just replied and said, what? He responds with, you seem like you're getting mad or annoyed. By me not responding, it seems as if I'm getting mad or annoyed at him accusing me of posting a naked photo on Snapchat. Also, if I did post a naked photo on Snapchat, okay, and what about it? But also I didn't, and there was no room for conversation as to if I did or not. So anyways, I said, what makes you think that? Because at this point, I'm just trying to see what his logic is, what he has to say. He says, because you stopped responding for a second. This is one thing the man's actually right about, is that I literally stopped responding for like a minute before he would send another message. I said, I didn't know how to respond, haha. He said, LOL, sorry I weirded you out this morning. You look at me like a dad, so I know it's surprising to hear me talk about hard wee-wees and nakedness and stuff. I'm only human too. Okay, I'm done. Seems like I'm digging a deeper hole of weirdness. All of those messages that are in different lines were sent separately after I would read a message and not respond. At this point, that's when I decided to screenshot everything and send it to his wife, because if I was in her situation, I would want to know that my husband was sexually harassing girls significantly younger than him. Not that that makes a difference, because even if they were the same age as him, it's sexual harassment. The thunder, just adding on. You know, on Snapchat, when you screenshot something, it notifies the person that sent the thing that you screenshotted. So I screenshotted the chats, and he says,
I was only messing with you because I haven't spoken to you in a while and thought it was funny, but I'm
guessing you're sending this to someone since you screenshotted it. At this point, I had already sent the messages to his wife, so yeah. And also, I'm putting it on my YouTube channel, as you can see. for thousands of other people to see. So I responded and said, "Nothing about sexual harassment is funny. Please don't contact me again." He responds with, "How is it sexual harassment? I was talking about the little boys that follow you, but there's often miscommunication in messages, so I apologize that it looks that way." It's a miscommunication that you uninvitedly talked about how I was skinny dipping and making little boys' wee-wees hard. I'm sorry, but it is not hard to Google the definition of sexual harassment and know that that is unwanted sexual conversation. And I can guarantee you that me posting my legs tanning was not me wanting those messages. So yes, it is sexual harassment. There is no miscommunication there. So that's my story. And as I was gathering information for this video and sharing my story with the two other victims of his that I knew about, one of them told me that there was another girl that worked at the store. So I decided to text her, and she was more than willing to share her story through text. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of what she said. She doesn't want to tell the story wrong, and I completely respect that. But what she did tell me is that on Snapchat stories, he would swipe up and put douchebag emojis, basically. Finally, she told him, "Why don't you say stuff like this to your wife instead?" And that's when he apologized, and she said it stopped since then. I think the scariest thing about this is that it's been several people. He works at a high school. Let me say that again. He works at a high school. He has a wife, he has a daughter, and he has another daughter on the way. He has a pregnant wife, and he's talking to people like this. It's not okay. So that's my story, and I just want to let you guys know that if you're going through something similar, or if you have went through something similar, first of all, I'm terribly sorry. There are sick people in this world that think that they're entitled to do or say whatever they want to whoever they want, and that is not the case. I also want to let you know to not be afraid to stand up for yourself and speak up. Tell the person who's harassing you to stop. If that doesn't work, take it to authorities, reach out to someone, because there's always something that can be done. And I know it's scary, and I know that not everyone's gonna want to share their story, and I understand that. But I do want you to know, regardless of if you want to share your story to a trusted person or authorities or not, I want you to know that it's not your fault, and you didn't do anything to ask for this harassment. And it is 100% that person's fault. Basically, I just wanted to make this video to share my story because something so gross and degrading and nasty happened to me, and I want to be able to use it to educate others and to let others know that you can stand up for yourself and you do have a voice and you should use it. I'm using it by making this video. And if you're watching this, Ryan, you have a wife, you have a daughter, you have another daughter on the way. And I can guarantee you that you wouldn't want any miscommunication towards your daughter when she's older. So maybe you should stop miscommunicating to young girls. Maybe you should show your wife the love and attention and respect that she deserves. And maybe you should pave the way and set a better example to what your daughters deserve. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I love you guys, and we will be back to our regular scheduled programming of me being an idiot every Monday next week. So I will see you guys in my next video. And don't forget to use your voice, because you have one. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.